Hi, I'm Zach.
Hi, I'm Matt.
All right, and welcome to This Movie Was a Hot Dog, a podcast where me, a friend of mine, or my brother watch a bad movie, critically, financially, or otherwise. Then we talk about it and tell you what we thought. This week's interesting in the sense that we watched a movie probably no one else has heard of and or saw.
You hipster.
Am I wrong?
I would hope nobody else has seen it.
It's a movie from this year. It's an Austrian film called Glacier. It is dubbed over. Well, that's the other reason this week's going to be interesting.
Boy, isn't it?
Because you saw it with subtitles and didn't pay attention to all of it.
Nope.
And I watched it dubbed
and didn't pay attention.
And didn't take notes because I didn't think we were doing it for the podcast because I just watched it Sunday morning for fun. But, so yeah, I didn't pay attention. And you watched it in a different language, so this should be interesting.
I mean, so right away, when we were talking about it before recording, one of the things we immediately noticed was you were talking about how the first 40 minutes of the movie is basically about global warming, whereas I didn't get that sense at all, because I guess I didn't look up from my computer the subtitles often enough to see that.
I don't, honest to God, I have no idea how you didn't figure out this movie was about global warming. It's a bunch of scientists up in the Arctic studying the recession of the glaciers, and then the Prime Minister is coming up there to see how global warming is affecting the world. Why did you think the Prime Minister was going to this metal shack in the middle of nowhere?
I did think that was pretty curious, but...
Now that you bring that up, that didn't really make much sense.
So, I mean, the thing is, they had, 6 different scientists there, though. They had, people there with, who were doing minerals. They had people there doing, mold and lichen.
Yeah.
And so I was like, it's just one of those research stations that's just there because people need to do research.
But all of that was being done in the name of finding out what global warming is doing to the... Regardless,
Which had nothing to do with the plot.
No, absolutely not. I was just about to say, despite the fact that that is the reason that everyone's there, this has absolutely nothing to do with the rest of the movie at all.
None. But... All right, so my initial impressions with this movie when I saw it was a foreign film and it was subtitled was,
or dubbed, depending on where you watch it, I guess.
Okay, so from my perspective, though, I feel like we hit gold with that kind of movie before when we watched Troll Hunter, which is one of my favorite movies. It's probably my favorite example of a found footage movie. And it's just a fun, kind of weird monster movie.
I will agree with you there. I love found footage movies, even though I'm like an abused girlfriend who keeps going home to get battered to death, even though I almost get beat to death every time, but I see every found footage movie. I love the concept, but I've never seen it. But they're always bad. All
right, so Troll Hunter and frickin' Paranormal were both good, but after that, I would never watch another found footage movie.
Right, yeah, and normal human beings shouldn't, but I do because I'm stupid. But I will agree with you. Troll Hunter is not only should be considered the perfect found footage movie. It's a really fun movie.
Yeah, and a good foreign film. So I was hoping against hope for that quality when this movie came up. And the cinematography of this movie was pretty good quality still, but overall the premise is kind of dumb.
I'll say the first time they walk up to the Blood Glacier, that's actually a pretty good shot.
It is.
It's stark with, and it literally looks like blood. That is, there are a couple of decent shots in this movie.
There are. But why don't we go through it as we usually do from start to finish?
All right, you want to take us away?
I will.
Because you have the notes, and I don't remember how this movie starts.
So I will attempt to add as much structure to our discussion plot-wise as possible.
Go for it.
All right. So we open on Drunky McWashed-Up and his faithful dog, and they are at this obscure glacial research facility and the alarms are all going off. So seeing as how we know this is a horror movie, we're hoping that's some kind of perimeter alarm that's just like, oh god, monsters are already here and you don't have to go through any exposition. But no, it's just the usual, I don't know, Glacier alarm to let people know that global warming is happening.
Somebody broke into the Glacier.
Somebody broke into the Glacier and is stealing the world's supply of fresh water. It's like a Captain Planet plot line. But no, it's just the whatever alarm, and so everybody's like, Drunky McWashed-Up, go fix the boxes because they're alarming. And he's like, I'm Drunky McWashed-Up, I'm gonna fix the boxes.
Which, again, is one of those things where it's like, there's 4 other people there. Why are they making this guy do anything? You figure if you worked in this facility with that dude, you would just go, hey man, just stay in your little cabin, be drunk, we'll do all the science things. But every time something happens, they're like, you need to fix this, you need to help us. Like, he's the most unreliable person in that place.
And you'll learn that more and more as we go through his morphine addiction and his alcoholism.
And his, sometimes, oh shit, what's the word I'm looking for? His devotion to his dog gets in the way of doing science, like, regularly.
Well, so I don't even think he's a scientist. I think he's literally just like the hardware guy. And then the scientists are just like, because they talk about how most of the people are only spend about a year at the research station. So it seems like he's the one constant there working on the hardware. Well,
we later find out, spoilers, not that this really matters.
This whole thing is a spoiler, Zach.
Right. He went through like a bad breakup, and it just broke his little drunk heart. Yeah. And he decided, like, he spent a year there, but he never left. Like, every time his year was up, he's just like, I'll stay for another year, I'll stay for another year. So I think it was like, somebody says at one point, like, he's been there for like 5 years.
Yeah, which is apparently just a long stretch.
Right, and at one point, one of the characters is asking him about it, and you almost, like, they kind of hint, like, I got the impression anyway where I went, oh, did this guy commit a crime? Like,
he just can't go back.
Right, did he, like, rob a bank, and he's just like, yeah, I'll go to the Arctic, just send me there, it's whatever. And he never came home because he's like, well, this is better than jail, but it's just like he went through a bad breakup. Dude, we've all been through a bad breakup. You literally don't need to exile yourself in the nothingness land.
I don't know. Maybe he took the black and went up to the wall, and now he's fighting the White Walkers.
God,
although Castle Black has gotten a lot smaller since I last saw it, so I don't really know.
I'm going to edit all of that out. I'm not going to let you say any of that.
And last we heard, the Night's Watch was down to 500, but now it's down to like 6.
I want to get up and not talk to you ever again.
All right. So, anyway.
So, Sean Bean's decapitated, and now the little kid is the prince of Game of Thrones town. No.
And the wall turns red. Anyway.
Right.
So, if we start on the wall turning red. So, alarm goes off, yada, yada.
We got to get to the glacier. Somebody's breaking in. They get there, and
so here's the thing, though. Like, before we even get there, like, he just fixes the boxes, goes to the kitchen, and then you get the title smash, just Blood Glacier.
Yeah, that was weird. That was so strange. There's a good 10 minutes of just a man being drunk, followed by his dog. Everyone around him is like, God, this guy stinks. And then he goes into the kitchen to, I don't know, open up a can of Spam. And then you're absolutely right. It's just like, blam, Blood Glacier. And you're like, whoa, okay.
Whoa, okay. I haven't even seen it yet.
You're like, literally nothing dramatic has happened.
And so, anyway, because of the Glacier alarm, they have to go check on the Glacier vault door. And so, Drunky McWashed-Up and another scientist go...
It was Drunky McScientist and, like guy that hates him.
So one of everybody.
Well, no, there's the scientist... There's the nerdy scientist that placates him for some reason.
Yeah. There's
girl, and then there's guy who hates him.
Yeah.
So it's guy who hates him and drunk guy go to the glacier. And, you know, it's a whole big thing. They get up there, and the glacier is, you guessed it, looks like it's covered in blood. And, like we mentioned earlier, is actually a really cool shot. Like, the music is dramatic, you see their faces, they're reacting to it, and you go like, oh crap, that is kind of creepy.
Right? It's like, why is the fucking glacier bloody? Well, we're about to find out. So the scientist preoccupies himself with the blood glacier while Drunky...
The blood glacier?
Exactly. Sorry, my Asian was coming out. And so Drunky McWashed-Up, furthering establishing himself as the hardware guy, goes into the shed, completely not impressed, really, by the blood glacier, and goes to fix things. Meanwhile, his dog is a dog and just starts sniffing down every little hole in the place that the audience knows is just where monsters spawn. So I'm assuming that just right off the bat, the dog's going to die.
Right. I figured this dog was going to... Like, in a standard horror movie, this dog would be the first thing to go so everybody can figure out that there's a monster.
Right. So they wouldn't have to be racist and kill the black guy first.
But there aren't any because they're in Western Europe.
Right.
But so the dog goes into this big cave right under this, like, constantly melting glacier, which you think would be the most dangerous spot to be on a glacier.
Yeah. It's just like any moment now, all of this could just give way, which is why we're studying it.
Right, exactly. But he goes in there and he finds like a fox corpse.
Yeah.
Yeah, a fox corpse.
It's not dead yet, actually. It's basically like, it looks like it's in the throes of labor.
And then right, exactly. There's like this focus on, pardon my French, but like a cloaca vagina looking thing. Like it does, what we're supposed to be seeing is a fox ripping open and a monster coming out of its stomach. But it looks like we're seeing like a focus shot of somebody's butthole while they're pooping.
Right. I think I couldn't tell if that was the animal's mouth or like the stomach, one of the things bursting out of it, or what. It was so close up, it was really hard to tell, which was annoying. Thankfully, for the rest of the movie, it's not like those obnoxious close-ups. But during this part, they really didn't try super hard with the effects.
I got the impression that, well, I'll argue that with you. I thought that the effect was actually good in the sense that it was a practical effect. It wasn't CGI, it was an actual puppet. But I will also say that it was a bad effect in the sense that you have no idea what it is.
Yeah, you have no idea what's going on.
Should I be afraid? Is the monster actually there? Is the monster birthing? Because it could be like the dog goes in there, sees something, it's turning into a monster, and he turns around and leaves. Or is the monster right there about to attack him? It turns out it's actually it's about to attack him?
Turns out,
because the dog gets attacked.
And then also the scientist who hates Drunky McWashed-Up somehow pricks his finger on ice or some shit, I don't know. So they call back to the station saying, and I might have missed them talking about the glacier because of the subtitles, but when I saw the callback, all they did was say like, oh, what's-his-face pricked his finger, but otherwise things are good. But did they call back about the glacier or no?
No. He didn't prick his finger. There was like an earthquake or something.
Okay.
And the dude falls and hits his head. Oh, no, you know what it was?
Yeah, well, Drunky McWashed-Up hits his head while he's in the shed. The other guy hits his finger.
I remember what it is. Like, it's either some sort of earthquake, which I don't think it is. The dog starts, like, screaming because it's getting attacked by monster.
Yeah.
He reacts, bumps his head. The other guy reacts and slips and falls.
Yeah.
And he cuts his finger. So Drunky McWashed-Up goes into the cave, finds his dog and the corpse or the skin of a fox, carries his dog back out, and then he radios back and he goes we had a situation, and the girl immediately is like, oh my god, how did you fuck up, you drunk retard? Like, she immediately assumes he, like, is the reason everyone's hurt. And he's like, relax, man. I bumped my head, he cut his finger, we're fine.
And I missed all of that during the thing. But did they talk about the glacier at all during that?
I think they, like, for a movie that is called Blood Glacier and has a glacier that looks like it's covered in blood, nobody ever says the word blood glacier. Well,
but again, they still don't say, like, a red-tinted glacier or bring up the fact that it's like that at all in the call.
Well, it wouldn't be hard to have that titular line to call her and be like, there's something wrong with the glacier, and she's like, what? And he could just goes, bum, 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 it looks like it's covered in blood, and then move on from there, end of scene.
And by the way, it looks like it has enough blood in it to, like, have soaked up the Battle of Gettysburg. This thing is just like a mountain, a bloody mountain of a glacier.
No, he doesn't say that. He just says, "Hey, we
just says that they're both injured," and it's still an anomaly that I don't think they talk about.
Well, also to the point where the fact that like neither of them are hurt really bad, like why call it all? Just walk back. Like both of you can walk. Like nobody's legs are hurt.
Yeah.
So bandage your head, bandage his finger, walk back, tell everybody later. Like, it's not... Why does everybody need to know this right now? Especially when you're not going to mention the blood glacier.
Yeah, so they don't, right? Well, that's what...
No, they don't.
That's what I kept asking you, because, yeah, I didn't know if I just missed it in the subtitles. So, by the way, what was the name of Drunky? Was he Janek in the dubbed version, or did they give him an American name?
It's Yannick.
Yannick, whatever.
You said it like it was like a Toonami character.
My bad.
Janek. He's a kid who gets superpowers from an alien.
Nope, instead he's just a drunk guy on a glacier.
A drunk, bald guy? Like, when he had his hat, like, he's balding around the middle of his head, and he's got that, like, balding guy,
pattern baldness.
Right, crown of hair. When he was wearing a watch cap, he looked like, like a tough, scruff guy. And when he took that hat off, he looked like a homeless person.
Yep, and he takes it off a lot.
Right. So he goes from looking like a tough guy who might know what's going on to a homeless person who wandered onto a movie set.
Constantly.
He was just in every shot.
It's just a switch. But anyway.
And the director was just like, you know what? Make him the main character. He's in every shot. Fuck it.
So Falk and Yannick return back with a sample from the glacier, and then they...
And an injured dog bitten by a monster fox.
And the bitten dog and the dog bitten by a monster fox, who you're just waiting to blow up in their face at any point. So this... Did
you get that? Did you hope that too? I was like, this dog is going to explode.
Yeah, right? I thought the dog was going to be just the thing.
Well, okay. If you're going to bring that up, I'm going to bring it up.
Let's hear it.
So there are two ways we can continue with this discussion. We can either directly compare this to The Thing, or we can never mention it again. We got to do...
I'm not going to mention The Thing again, but I am going to bring up Jaws, and you're going to love me when I do.
Oh my God. Before we never mention it again, because I agree we shouldn't, let's just get it out of the way. This is set in the Arctic. It's about some sort of alien hybrid creature, and they're being attacked. Compared to The Thing, this movie is not good. But it's just not. But because it's so similar to The Thing, like I said, we either have to constantly compare it to it or not at all. With that out of the way, never again.
All right. We start moving into the pseudoscience of the movie, which is one of my favorite things.
Which is just like it's a 45-second clip where this woman's like, "Oh, a bacteria that's never been encountered by mankind? I know all about it."
Yeah, well, and so it's funny because they talk about the pseudoscience. They're like, all right, look at it. It looks like a hollow shell of a cell. So it can't survive on its own. It's unstable. And that's why it's...
I don't know if you mentioned this. The bacteria they're talking about, is literally the blood from the glacier. I'm sure everybody could put that 2 and 2 together in their head, but I'm just going to say.
Yeah, right. So they took a sample and then they put it on a slide. And then they're looking at it under a microscope, and then they talk about how the cell structure is hollow, like I said. So it basically is a big vessel waiting to be filled, like your mom.
Bam!
And so that's why it's aggressive, and it attacks species to kind of fill this void. And so that's the first little drop of pseudoscience. And then, like I said, I would mention Jaws. In a very awesomely Jaws turn, they decide not to tell the department minister that's coming up and visiting that it's coming.
They're not going to close the beaches because it's the first day of summer, and that's when they get all the...
Exactly, because the Glacier Festival is where they get all of their funding.
Oh my God, you're right.
And so they can't close it down because otherwise they won't get their funding. And so, yeah, it's the biggest tourist attraction of the year and something like that. So, yeah.
Well, okay, it was around this time that we find out that the prime minister of fucking European town, I don't know what country this is supposed to be set in,
Yep.
is coming specifically to this small science depot. And, Matt, you've dubbed her...
Grandma McScience Minister lady?
I thought you called her Prime Minister Grandma.
Prime Minister Grandma, that's right.
Prime Minister Grandma is... And it's not like Prime Minister Grandma is coming there in a helicopter. She's going to land down and be like, I want to see where all of my science dollars are going. I don't think I think this is a waste of money. She is literally hiking there.
Yeah, so they helicopter up to what's basically like a base camp.
And by base camp, you mean fancy hotel?
Fancy hotel. Again, subtitles. I didn't see hotel, but it looked like there was just... So there was a few security people, and then there was like a camera guy and a reporter, and then there was Prime Minister Grandma.
We are calling her that because just close your eyes and picture a white-haired grandmother. It's her.
Sorry.
That's what she looks like. It's her. That's what she looks like.
Yeah. And so all these people, like, I take a look at these people and I just see like, oh, good, they have some people to fluff up the body count when everybody starts dying. That's good. Because, if I don't have like 8 people die in a horror movie, I feel like I wasted my time.
Well, especially in a monster movie, you want to see the monster death where people get like ripped apart and torn in half. Like, that's why you see a monster movie.
After we see these people, we have Drunky go on like a nice morphine-fueled dream sequence.
Well, he goes on that because they look at the cell, and they're all like, man, this is amazing. This is a scientific breakthrough. And he is the only one, the only one who's like, does anybody else see this as a virus that is a bad thing, and maybe we should try and contain it, or at least act like this isn't completely bad. And everyone's like, shut up, you idiot! And...
Yeah.
And so the guy who hates him, like, basically is almost like, we should just kill him. Like, the guy who hates him is like, we should just kill him. And the girl who hates him is like, we need to lock him in a cabin. And the doctor, who for some reason is kind of his friend, is like, no, I got this. Hey, Drunky, you want some morphine? And he's like, yeah, sure.
Exactly.
And he sticks his tongue out, and he drops a 4-ounce shot of morphine into his mouth.
And then gives him, like, the rest of the vial to kind of play with on his own.
Right, he's like, here's a couple of shots of morphine. You know what, here's all of it. Just self-medicate.
And so Drunky just wanders outside, high on morphine, passes out, wakes up at nighttime.
Passes out on literally a pile of rocks. And I don't mean, like, a gravel driveway. I mean rocks the size of footballs. He just passes out, like, in a way where he should wake up and be like, my back hurts so bad I can't move.
So he wakes up at night, and he hears a low growling. And so he's, since he's the most, like, bad things are going to happen of the group, he whispers into the radio, he's like, oh, hey, you bring me the gun, I think there's something out here.
Oh, well, this is where he starts to get his little thing, because when he goes in and he sees his dog got bit in the cave, he sees the fox carcass and assumes a fox bit him. And when he wakes up, he sees a fox tail, like, creep behind a building, and he's like, there must be a rabid fox out, which I'll give this movie credit for, isn't a stupid theory.
So he's saying, like, bring me the gun, we're going to shoot the fox, but keep it down, like, he's whispering, and then he gets back, boss!
Yeah, it's like, hey, Matt, be quiet. I think there's a guy in my apartment. I need you to call the police.
Oh, shit, Zach, be careful!
Right, exactly. But he's on a walkie-talkie with the volume all the way turned up, so the guy's just like, what? What?
So that made me laugh. Here we get our first, like, real good monster shot. And it's, like, a large beetle that's the size of, like, let's say, a pretty big dog.
It's the size of a fox. It
was like, a bit bigger than that, I'd say.
I got the sense that because it was supposed to be a fox, and also because it didn't have really much to size it against, that it was supposed to be, it was a fox with, like, the top of a fox head and a beetle mouth, like mandibles and like
a beetle
spider
body
legs.
too, yeah.
Right, and like spider legs coming out of it, but it still had a foxtail because he like sees the foxtail like go into a pile of garbage, and he's like, I got you, you stupid fox. And he's like creeping up on it like he's going to scare it away or like step on it or kick it or something. And what bursts out of the garbage is a monster.
No other word. It's a fucking monster.
But again, this is where I go, this movie had me going, because this monster comes out, and it's not a CGI, it's a real puppet, and it's creepy as shit.
Yeah, no, it looked great. So that's why I was like, oh, pretty good production values. This is no Jack Brooks Monster Hunter.
That's gonna be my suggestion. Let me write that down. Keep going.
And so so he goes inside in a panic, obviously, because this thing is just terrifying. He grabs the gun that he mentioned, which is like a hunting rifle with a scope, and he starts loading some decent caliber bullets into it. And so, and then everyone in the station proceeds to call him a liar.
Right, and then, although it didn't happen in the scene, I still like to imagine that the guy who hates him is like, let's just kill him again. Let's just kill him now. Like the guy who absolutely hates him wants so little to do with him. He's just like, let's leave him for dead. Let's just take him for a walk and never bring him back.
And so it's kind of implied here that like his drug-related past is just like they don't like him, as you said, and so they're really not inclined to believe him that zombie bug fox is outside ready to just cave in the door and kill them all.
Well, the first thing that happens is, in the movie, he wakes up hungover and then starts drinking again. So if I was living with
a hangover.
So if there was a guy like that living with me, I, too, would probably rightfully assume you can't trust everything this guy says. And I don't know. Okay, this is where it starts to get where the subtitle's different from the dubbing.
Probably.
Because in the dubbing, he comes in and he's like, he's panicking. He's like, blah, 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 blah. There's something out there. There's something out there. And they're like, what'd you see? And in a turn that I didn't think he would do in a movie, he goes, there's a rabid fox out there. And I'm like,
he continues to say it's a rabid fox. He doesn't even...
Well, here's where it differs in the dubbed version, possibly, and maybe you missed it in the subtitles. So he's going there. They're like, what did you see? And he's like, it's a rabid fox. And my first thought is, great. He's going to not sound crazy. Maybe they'll believe him. And then he goes, but there was something wrong with it. And that's when I go, oh, no. And he goes, there was something wrong with it. It had, like, legs and teeth and blah, blah, blah. And somebody goes, Yannick, are you telling me, in addition to being rabid, it's also a mutant? which I had to be the dubbing, like they're like, okay, his mouth is moving, we have to fill it with something, because nobody would say that. That doesn't make sense to say.
No, yeah, that it went a little smoother than that, and he kind of he implied that it was wrong, but they really didn't play it up very much, and the scientist definitely didn't give him like any credit.
No, the scientist goes, are you implying that is a mutant? And he goes, yes, I do. And so when I watched the dub version, I was like, oh, well, of course they're going to think he's crazy because he's saying stupid, crazy things.
No, yeah, they didn't even, he left it kind of at rabid fox, and they didn't even give him like the mutant buy-in. But because the other person who hates him was also at the blood glacier, they do believe enough that there is the blood glacier. So, the next day they set out to explore that with Drunky and Lady Scientist. But when they get there, the blood glacier has been hit by a Mr. Clean magic eraser, and it's all white again.
And and you're right, the only reason that the female scientist is not like, you're full of shit, you drunk idiot, is because she had a sample of it. So she immediately starts drilling into the base of this melting glacier.
To take samples, which would make scientific sense.
But this is where I got like, I'm no scientist, but again, with the same reason with the cave with the melting glacier, I feel like structurally drilling into the base of it would be like, I don't know, that doesn't seem safe. But anyway.
How would you feel if I told you they drill into the Hoover Dam on regular basis to take core samples?
Yeah, but man made that.
Oh.
and Jesus made man. Man is infallible.
Okay. So we'll gloss over all that. And So since we haven't seen a monster in more than like 5 minutes, the movie rewards us. And Yannick goes to take a piss, and he ends up pissing on the shell of like a cat-sized monster bug.
It's a giant beetle. It's a beetle like the size of a cat.
Yeah.
But they keep showing it as he's like walking up to it, so he's not there yet. And this thing is like pulsating and oozing,
and Yannick doesn't even see it.
Right, and making sounds. It's going like, and he starts pissing on it to the point where if I was in 35 feet of that thing, I would just point my finger and go like, "What's that? What is that over there? What is that?" But
but he's just like 2 feet away from it.
2 feet away from it and actively peeing on it.
Yep. So it obviously wakes up to that and goes to attack him. I was expecting him to get his dick bitten off. But instead, he just kicks it in the face, and it, like, immediately dies.
And this is where I was like, is this guy a ninja? Because, like, if I'm peeing, that's at my most vulnerable. If you want to kill me, come up behind me while I'm peeing. Because not only is my dick out, but I'm, like, just focused on the sensation of, like, I had to pee, and now I'm peeing. That feels good. Like, I don't have to pee anymore, and I'm dead because a giant monster beetle bit me in the spot where all my blood is.
That doesn't happen, and the thing dies, or at least becomes passive enough.
Oh, it dies. He kills it.
Yeah. So
he just punts it and it dies.
Yeah, I mean, it just curls up. And so they take it back, though, so now they have more... They don't have any samples with blood or anything like that from the Glacier, but instead they have Big Monster Bug to take back now. So they take it into the room, and this is a part that bothered the shit out of me. I don't know how this went with the dubbed version, but they put it on a table, they pick at it a little bit, and then one of them asks, "Is this an undiscovered species?" And then the lady scientist responds, "No."
No, that's how it goes in the dubbing, too.
And it's like, are you shitting me? Point to this. Point on a map where this is just natural. Show me where this is from. I don't want to go there.
If I found a bug the size of a pumpkin and somebody's like, is this an undiscovered species? First of all, why would you even ask that? You would just assume yes.
Yeah, I just like, even if I had seen one yesterday on TV, I'd be like, well, there's no way this is like...
And she's just like, no, you idiot. Like, everybody hates everybody in this place.
Right?
She's like, no, you idiot. And they start picking at it, and there's like a jump scare because it has a reflex and it moves. And I don't know if you're going to get to this in your weird pseudoscience.
You know pseudoscience is what I'm all about.
This movie is pseudoscience. This is where she, like, comes up with this theory that she states as fact but also turns out to be fact, where it's like, oh, if you ingest or are infected with the blood glacier blood, you are now, like, the blood glacier germ, as you said before, is empty. So it wants to fill itself with something else. So what it does is it infects you, then it
lives in your stomach lining.
It lives in your stomach lining, fills itself with the last thing you ate, then starts to grow a hybrid inside you of whatever you are and the last thing you consumed. So, she goes, the fox ate a beetle. So, the fox then probably licked up some of the blood glacier, and inside him a fox beetle grew, ate his way out of the fox, and now there's a beetle fox running around.
Which she then goes on to label as a new species, completely contradicting what she said earlier.
So she says, oh, we found a new species. It's a beetle fox. And so it's like, did this giant beetle eat another beetle and became a bigger beetle fox creature?
Nope, don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. It's fine.
But yeah, so as you move up the food chain, each thing that eats anything else just becomes a bigger mixed ball of features. So now we go back to the minister's party that's hiking up to the uncancelable Glacier Festival of 10 people. And we see the camera guy get bit by a monster bug. And so...
he doesn't get bit by a monster bug. It's the scene right afterwards.
Well,
where
okay, he gets hit by a mosquito.
Yeah, he gets hit by, like a slightly larger than normal mosquito, because it's the scene immediately afterwards where they describe how, well, if you get bitten by something or you consume it, it goes into your stomach and it turns into you and the last thing you ate, and for some reason wants nothing but to kill other things.
Yeah.
It's not like, that's something that bothered me. It's like, okay, so this fox ate this beetle, it grows in his stomach, turns into a fox beetle, breaks him out. Why is it inherently violent?
Because, Zach, how would you feel if you looked like that? I feel like it felt rejected by the world, and so that inward bad feeling turned into outward violence, and it can really teach us all something.
That's why? Because it's just like, because I started watching this and I'm just like, are beetles known as the most violent thing on the face of the earth? Like, why are these beetle monsters
Zach,
just so...
They're the fiercest hunters in the animal kingdom.
Don't even start.
So anyway, he gets bit by what is clearly meant to be a monster mosquito, but doesn't look super monstery. And then we're left to just kind of assume that's going to bake for a while. Then we get a smash cut to someone we've never seen before.
Or will ever learn her name ever.
Some 20-year-old girl who's just in the mountains.
By herself in short shorts.
Everyone else in this movie is wearing, like, parkas and winter gear, and she looks like she stumbled off of a beach onto this mountain. And she's being chased by just this huge eagle bug, and it's flying her down.
It's an eagle, because it has feathers and it can fly, but it has a beetle face and, like, a scorpion tail?
And, like, really... And everything that's transformed in this movie generally has, like, black coloring. Like,
yes.
Like, the fox has, like, black fur, and this eagle has black feathers, and later on there'll be a ram that has black fur. So that's just another, for whatever reason, black is their motif. But anyway, so this girl, like, has no reason to be here. I assume someone's girlfriend or favorite hooker just wanted a role. And
you know what? It's probably someone's favorite. It was someone's favorite hooker, Matt. How'd you guess that?
Well, I do have a nose for these things. So, anyway, this is her breakout role. We see the scientist walk by more and more animals with their stomachs burst open. The most recent one is a ram, which is a pretty good size. So I'm excited to see this thing when it's in monster form because, hopefully it's like the size of a small truck.
Well, because they keep implying, like, it's going to be whatever you ate, plus you comes out of your stomach. And this is when I brought up my thing that I mentioned earlier that you liked, where when this mosquito bites this guy, it's like, oh no, he's infected by the blood glacier.
Yeah.
I was like, so he's infected, so it's going to be whatever he ate plus him. And I just imagined that the last thing he did was stop at, like a street vendor, and he was going to become like a hot dog person.
And if that was the case, then we would have a new logo. But unfortunately,
right, exactly. It would just be like a giant hot dog monster person, because it's like, okay, so it's going to be whatever he ate. So it's like, ooh, maybe he ate chicken for dinner, so he's going to turn into like a chicken person monster. But well, we'll get to that later. It's not that cool at all. In fact, it's a huge letdown.
No, it really was a letdown. But anyway, so we're back with the hiking minister group that's heading up the mountain, and camera guy is not looking good after suffering the bite.
The guy who got bit, like 15 minutes later, he looks like he's had cancer for 4 months.
Yeah, he looks like he's going through chemo.
And Prime Minister Grandma's like, I think this man needs a break. And he is just out of, like, everybody's walking on a straight plane. And he's just like, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. Like, dude, who are you kidding? You look like you're going to die in an hour.
Right. And
which turns out he does.
And so you think, like, oh man, if shit happens, it's going to happen with this guy. But instead, out of nowhere, Eaglebug is back again and just kills one of the big security guys with the minister parties with, like, a big thing through his chest. Yeah.
It's the only security guy.
Right.
She's with a scientist, a news reporter, a camera guy, and some old guy that she's apparently friends with.
Yeah, he seems to
be
the hiking guy.
The hiking guide. So the only guy who like has a gun, raises his gun, is about to shoot the beetle bird, and can't see it because it's foggy for some reason in the Arctic, and the scorpion tail goes right through him.
Just right through his chest.
Just right through him, and he's dead before he does anything cool.
And he proceeds to empty his clip into the air uselessly, and then he dies.
Right, exactly.
Everybody meets up at the scientist hut and just has a big freak out about the monsters, because everybody's seen one at this point.
Well, also, before Prime Minister Grandma gets there, the entire cabin has been like, we're not going to tell anybody about the swarm of monsters outside the building. Because they're like, we don't want them to know about the monsters because we want to get our funding. So Drunky, here's all the morphine. Go be all morphine-y and don't tell anybody anything. And, like, they get there and they're like, why are there monsters everywhere? And they're like, well, I don't know. What are you talking about? Monsters? Why, I don't know.
Yeah. So once they get over all that denial, in classic horror logic, two people have already peeled off from the party. Guy who hates Drunky, who's Falk, I think, and then Lady Scientist. They go to hide the sat phone from Drunky so that he can't call this in to panic everybody.
Right, because they want their funding, so they're like, if he calls everybody, we're fucked. So let's take our cell phone, satellite phone, and hide it so he can't tell anybody that there are monsters running around, even though, like, people are dying. And
we should also take the monster away, too, because then if people see that, then they'll just know by themselves. So they take the sat phone and the little cat-sized beetle monster to the observation station at the base of the glacier to get it out of the way. But surprise, Catbug is not dead yet, and it just leaps onto the face of Lady Scientist, who just falls down to the ground, and then Falk, the guy who hates Drunky, just starts bashing on the fucking bug with a huge rock to kill it. Apparently ends up killing Lady Scientist as well, but I think she was already pretty dead from the bug.
Well, I agree with you. Like, this thing is on her face, and it is actively eating her face off. Like, it is aggressively killing her. And he is doing a terrible job of saving her. To the point where just doing a terrible job of supporting her spine. Where he goes, okay, stay right there, don't move. Like, a monster's eating her face off, and he goes, stay right there, don't move.
Just relax, you need to relax.
He goes and gets a rock, which he is literally surrounded by. He picks up a rock, and he starts beating the bug off of her face, and he gets, I'm not gonna lie, I'd probably be with this guy. He gets carried away with beating this beetle to death, and beats this woman to death. Yeah. And so he kills this woman completely by accident, actively trying to save her, but he acts as though he is if he tells anybody, his head will explode on sight for murder. So he is like, I have to cover up this murder. So he hides the body, and he hides the cat bug. And he goes back to the lab, and they're like, oh, where's Lady? And he's like, oh, I don't know. She said she had to go. I don't know. She had to go buy tampons or something, brr. and they're just like, oh, okay. And they just believe him. And 2 minutes later, Prime Minister Grandma shows up, and so they're not really that worried that Lady's not there.
Right, because they have a new lady.
Right, which they have a new lady, which makes me go, like, why does he even bother to cover up this murder? Everybody, including Prime Minister Grandma, knows there are monsters. Monsters the size of birds, dogs, and cats running around actively trying to kill people. He could just walk into that place, and they're like, where's Lady? And he could be like, oh, a monster killed her. And everybody would be like, oh, okay. But instead, he is trying to cover up this murder like he accidentally pushed his grandma down the stairs. Like, it's not... just bugged the shit out of me.
Before he has too much time to lament about this, though, everybody has regrouped back at the research hut. And, before any time has passed at all, the biggest monster yet, the monster ram, starts really just hammering at the door the second the guy gets back.
It wasn't a ram. It was like a moose.
No, it was a mountain goat. It had curved horns that went backwards over its head.
No, it was a moose. It was like an ibex because
an
fight
ibex.
an ibex.
Well, that's not like a moose.
Yeah, which is like a moose.
Either way,
well, it is.
So either way, it's about 6 feet tall at the head, making it the biggest thing by far. And so they're fighting to keep this thing out of the ramshackle shack they're in, and it's standing up about as well as the boat in Jaws.
Yeah, the moose shows up, and it just the fox. When the fox showed up earlier, they hear like scratching and stuff, and they're like, "Oh, it's a fox, whatever." This moose just breaks a wall down.
Yeah,
and is like actively trying to eat everybody inside the building, and
because that's a natural part of
right,
what
because,
they do on a daily basis.
When you become and again, I know you said you didn't see it, but I swear to God, this was a moose beetle. It had wings, and it had spider legs and mandibles. Apparently, everything in the woods eats beetles. Everything. And that's the only thing they've eaten. Because it's not like this moose became like moose grass. It didn't become like a moose grass monster because that's what moose eat. It became a moose beetle, and it has giant wings and giant mandibles, and is trying to kill everybody. So that's where I want to break away for just a minute and just go on a brief tangent of my own where I go, this movie had the potential to have great monsters. They go, it becomes everything you ate plus you. So when the guy gets bitten, this guy's going to become a mosquito man hot dog. This fox became a fox beetle. Fox eat beetles. That's fine. Got it. This moose shows up, and it's a moose beetle. Does something, anything else, become a fucking moose cotton? I don't know. Something. I want monster variation, especially in a movie where they go, well, all these monsters will have different variables dependent on what they eat, and then that doesn't happen.
Nope. But, so anyway, as this thing is trying to kill all of them and break down the one building they're in, Prime Minister Grandma picks up the coring drill from earlier and just goes to town on this thing's face. Meanwhile, they're sitting in a room with a gun in it.
Right! A hunting rifle that is probably good to kill a moose.
Yep, but so she kills it with a coring drill, so that's 2 monsters dead right now. In a movie which we've seen several guns in, none of them have been used. I feel like this kind of marks it as a foreign film versus an American film. Like, I feel like the guns would have played a bigger part.
I agree, but I also appreciated the gore factor, and I also kind of liked that Prime Minister Grandma was hit. Prime Minister Grandma and the drunk dude are the only 2 people doing anything.
Yeah, they're the only 2 with sense.
Right, so the person with a chemical dependence and the other person who's over 65 years old is the only person who's trying to fight these monsters. She picks up this drill that has a bit on it that's easily 1.5 feet long.
I think it's like 3 feet long.
And just starts drilling into this thing's head. And This is where I started to go, well, I thought this could be a good place to add infection kind of drama because blood is on everybody's face. Everybody's face, eyes, mouth, it's everywhere. Yeah. But nobody turns into a monster. Okay, it bugged me, but whatever.
It what did you?
It bugged. Oh, shut up.
So, anyway, the MacGuffin party forms to go get the MacGuffin from the MacGuffin hut. And leaving about half the party back in the lodge with 20-year-old girl that we saw earlier, who I thought would just be a one-off death.
I did too. We do have to mention when she was fighting, when she was running away in her short shorts, she gets attacked by the beetle hawk and gets bit. So she is now
bit, but she gets stabbed in the leg by the big tine, and that becomes important because while the MacGuffin party is out, Prime Minister Grandma notices a big throbbing mass on her leg where she got stabbed by the eagle bugs thing. And so she just decides right there, like, we could either put her outside and just let more monsters form, or we can try and cut that thing out of her because I'm a qualified surgeon.
I didn't even get it like qualified surgeon. I got this as a very good commercial for like active leadership.
Yeah.
She was like, I am
it.
I am in charge. Everyone's freaking out. I'm 79 years old. I know she's getting older every time I mention her age. I'm 113 years old.
Right.
Like, let's fucking do something. And so she's like, let's cut it out. And everyone's like, I don't know what to do. Even though there is a doctor there, and he is like, well, I don't know what to do because I'm a and she goes, shut up, you idiot. And finally somebody else gets something that Janek's been getting the entire time. They go, shut up, you idiot. And she's like, give me a sharp knife and heat a piece of iron till it's like scalding.
Because we are going to cauterize that shit.
Right. She rips this woman's calf open.
Thigh.
Probably thigh calf, laming her she's immobile now.
Yeah.
For a while. She cuts out this like pulsating tadpole of a creature. Like
it ends up looking like a chicken drumstick when she pulls it out, and then they just throw it into the furnace.
It does. It looks like a chicken wing that they throw into the fire, and then she's like, well, that was the other thing I thought was funny. They cut this woman open, and they rip out this growth that is the size of like a big chicken wing, and she's like, whew, that part's done. Now the hard part. And they burn her with the hot piece of iron, and that's when she wakes up.
Freaking a bit out. Like,
she's like, ah! And she's just screaming because they're burning her with this thing. But they save her, and they kill the mutant. Meanwhile,
things are going pretty well so far.
Things are going good in the cabin. Meanwhile, guy who hates him, his girlfriend, which we haven't mentioned yet. We've never mentioned his girlfriend.
Ex-girlfriend, I guess, or whatever.
Ex-girlfriend. Well, just for the sake of just establishing her character, because we're an hour into this and we haven't. He is drunk because he broke up with his girlfriend. He finds out that the girlfriend is coming with Prime Minister Grandma to check out the thing. He's freaking out because they broke up. So that's half the reason that they're all like, he's out of control because he's drunk and his girlfriend's coming. And they come and they have like a brief like, oh, you know, I miss you. Blah, 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 blah. Where's our dog that got bit? And we didn't mention that either. So they go back. The girlfriend with Prime Minister Grandma shows up. They drill the hole into the thing's head. And then she's like, where's our dog? And she shows him their dog, which is obviously becoming a monster.
Yeah. Its belly is turning purple. It's throbbing.
It's quickly turning into a monster. And she's like, I want to put it down. And he's like, no, I don't want to. And she's like, no, we have to. So they put it down. And so you think the dog's done. Bum, bum, bum. It's not. Boy, ever is it not. We'll come back to the fucking dog. But cut back to, they're like, okay, we're going to go back to the Blood Glacier to get the phone. They cut the mutant out of the girl's leg. They go, it's the guy who hates him, Yannick, and Yannick's girlfriend. The guy who hates him is the guy who beat the other woman to death with a rock, is acting like he's in a murder mystery all of a sudden. Like, he's super nervous. He doesn't want anybody to go there, even though he could just say at any moment she got eaten by a monster, and nobody would care.
So they're out there looking for the sat phone, and then we go back to the hut where the successful surgery happened, and Mosquito Guy, the cameraman, makes a triumphant return, bursting into the cabin.
As a man with growths on his face.
He just looks awful. He looked like a cancer patient before, but now he's like literally one step from a monster. And
well, I don't know about you, but this is where I was going. This guy's going to turn into a mosquito person. He's going to burst, like legs are going to come out, a big stinger is going to come out of his face, and he's going to turn into a mosquito person. Instead, mosquitoes just burst out of boils on his neck in the worst CGI of the movie. I mean, it looks terrible.
Yeah. So he spawns a bug swarm. So and then all of a sudden, like, someone is just on fire and runs outside, and now the whole cabin's burning down.
Oh yeah, that's right. Somebody bursts into something and then just burns to death.
He just for no reason, he's just on fire. And so. But then you see, like, the cabin door shuts, and you see just this swarm of monster mosquitoes, and you're like, well, fucking everyone in there is dead. And then we go away back to the search for the satellite phone. They're looking for the satellite phone. It's not at the station where the guy said it was. The monster beetle fox comes back and just starts ripping up the one guy who killed the lady, and then it attacks Yannick. The security lady saves him with like an ice pick or something like that by just caving in the thing's skull. At some point, they either acquire the sat phone or they just get close enough to the town to make radio contact, but they're able to phone in that like shit's going down and you need to send a helicopter. They say that I don't know what they said particularly because again, subtitles. They mention that the girl is infected and dying of sepsis. They don't go into like, oh my god, there's monsters. Send everything that will kill the monsters. Did they say that in the dub version at all or no?
Honestly, I'm trying to remember what happened. It's getting kind of foggy for me at this point. Like I said, I saw it a week ago.
But yeah, like during this call, at least as far as I saw, all they say is someone is dying of sepsis, which you would say if someone got like poop in their blood or something like that. Not like, oh my god, this person has been infected by an unknown alien space virus and there's monsters killing people. And so, you know, this is just a movie of like not calling in the level of danger that people are going through. In the distance, they see the smoke of the fire from guy who burst into flames and the hut's burning down. So Yannick and girlfriend go back in almost no time at all, really. It's like the same time of day when they go back, which is just ridiculous because it seemed like they'd taken a while to get to that other.
No, you're right.
Location.
They get there like 40 seconds.
And they get there, and frickin' old hiking guy, Prime Minister Grandma, and who was the last person? Fucking
mutant leg teenager with booty shorts.
No, she's not there.
She's not?
No, it was Prime Minister Grandma, the guy, the hiking guy, and then...
It can't be the doctor, because he burned to death.
Right? Yeah.
No, it's the booty shorts girl.
I thought she died, but either way, so like...
Anyway, there's 3 people.
Right, yeah, there's 3 people, so only the person who died from the fire and the guy who was dead from spawning bugs died. And so I guess the fucking mutant bug swarm wasn't nearly as deadly as you might think a mutant bug swarm might be, because that had a 100% survival rate.
And it's not like we show a scene where they like kill all the bugs. It's one scene, there are bugs everywhere, and then the next scene, it's not an issue.
It's not an issue. We're back there, and they're in an outhouse just chilling. We see the rescue helicopter arriving, the 5 people get in it, and then Yannick and girlfriend go back to the cabin and
get the dog corpse that they killed.
Right. And then they see spawn from the belly of the dog.
Wait, no, I want to do this.
Okay.
I want to do this. Because this is the biggest problem I had with the entire movie.
Let's hear it.
So, they're like... Oh, the day's done. The night's over. It's the first time the sun's up since everyone got there. So you're like, okay, there's daylight. If anyone sees a monster, like, people will believe us. The Secret Service is here. We're fine. They're like, we want to get our dog corpse because although we're broken up, we both had this dog when we were dating. We love this dog. We want to bury it. They go back to get the dog, and the dog has birthed a dog person baby. And I mean like a brand newborn baby, but with a goddamn dog face. And it's like chirping like a dog does, like a puppy does. And he picks up like a rock and he's like, well, I'm going to fucking kill this thing. And she's like, no, let's raise it. And like, he doesn't go like, I would have gone, are you fucking out of your mind?
Are you fucking out of your mind?
Are you fucking crazy? He's just like, oh, yeah, it's our dog baby. Okay, like, let's raise... So then they get on the helicopter, and they're cradling this thing like it's a baby, but it's a fucking dog baby. Also, this goes against their own logic, where they go, well, the thing infects you, and it becomes you and whatever you ate. Did this dog eat a person? Did this dog eat a goddamn baby? Why is it a dog baby? Why? Why is it a dog person?
Because the love
it's a fucking
their owners.
It's a goddamn dog person, baby. It doesn't make any sense. It's really creepy, and they're looking at it like, we're going to get together because we're going to restate our relationship because of this dog baby. No, it's a fucking dog person, baby. It's a mutant. It's going to grow up, and what? Are they going to play fetch with their toddler? I am livid about the ending. Because they get the dog baby into a helicopter, they fly away, and that's the end of the movie. It's Yannick, his girlfriend, and a fucking dog baby. And then the first credit should have just said, fuck you, and then everybody's name should have come up.
Fuck you.
It's a dog baby, go to hell. Like, did I miss anything, or is that not how it ended?
They had dog baby, and then they fly away, and my biggest question was, the helicopter pilot is seeing all of this. So the blood glacier is red again at the end, and the helicopter pilot flies in and flies away from it, and isn't like, hey, so what's going on there?
Probably because he was too busy turning around, pointing at the dog baby, going, what the fuck is that? What is that?
Right?
Why is it on my helicopter? Is that a human? And they're like, well, and he's like, what the hell does well mean?
And so then the credits roll with them just flying away over Blood Glacier.
Fucking dog baby. No. Dog baby?
And so clearly that's a big issue. So in the end...
everyone's happy because they have a dog baby.
Right. So overall, though, my overall thoughts as we wrap up each segment with, I actually view this movie pretty favorably. I enjoyed myself a lot more than some of these other movies. I think it wasn't a perfect film, far from, but it was passable. I would definitely say it's passable. The monsters were very monstrous. The characters did what they were supposed to. You know, they had their usual MacGuffin to go out, and there was a clear set of objectives to go accomplish. So overall, I kind of liked it. There was a lot of just random that didn't need to happen, like with frickin' Monster Girl, or it should have been Monster Girl, but wasn't. That was kind of disappointing. There was definitely some missed opportunities, that like things that could have happened sooner with human infection. But yeah, I mean, what are your overall thoughts?
I didn't like it as much as you did, but the reasons I liked it were every reason you said.
Yeah.
It's not bad. You know what? I woke up on a Sunday morning. My girlfriend was asleep. I had nothing to do. So I put it on. And if you're like that, it'll work. It's a great movie for a person. If you're hungover and you want to feel like a human being by 9 a.m. Monday morning, watch this. It's not bad. But with that said, as a movie, I had a lot of problems with it.
Yeah.
Mainly pointing the variations of monsters. I feel like with the fact that they were like, whatever you eat, you'll become that. Why couldn't the fox be like a fox mouse instead of everything was a something plus beetle? There was a fox beetle, there was a wolf beetle, there was a moose beetle, and there was
eagle
an
beetle. Yep.
Eagle beetle. And everything was something plus beetle. And I just felt like that was lazy. They could have gone places with that, and they didn't. The ending made no sense with the fucking wolf baby. Did the dog eat a dog? Did the dog eat a person? Eat a baby? I went over that. We're done with that, with the fucking dog baby. If you watch it dubbed, keep in mind the dubbing is not good. Also, if you listen to this in the next couple of weeks, month, it is on Netflix streaming. All in all, no, I will not say it's a bad movie. I'll say watch it. It's decent. But is it great? By no means. Now that we've given our rating, I know you've given your suggestion. You're going to say Troll Hunter, right?
I would recommend Troll Hunter if you want a foreign kind of horror movie and you can deal with subtitles. Troll Hunter is a much better example of the genre and a fantastic example of a found footage movie, which this is not.
Well, it's not found footage, so...
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if that was clear because we talked about found footage for like way too long in the beginning.
But we mentioned it earlier because Matt brought it up. There is a movie. If you could, I will say, first of all, I dare you to find it.
There is a train wreck, which was recorded.
There's a train wreck. I dare you to find it, because it will be impossible to find.
There was a $5 movie bin full of them at Walmart.
There was a $5 movie bin, and when me and Matt were roommates in college, we used to love to buy movies that nobody had ever heard of and no one will ever hear of. And we bought Jack Brooks' Monster Hunter. It is about this plumber with anger problems who his dad or mom was killed by a monster, and then when he's like an adult, he's going to night class, and his night class teacher turns into a monster, and so he uses like Allen wrenches and fucking plungers and just hammers to kill monsters. And
it's basically what the Mario Brothers movie should have been.
It's what the Mario Brothers movie should have been. You're absolutely right, because it's like, oh no, they're dinosaur creatures. They should pull out wrenches and hammers and nails and kill them. And this guy does that, and it is very violent. It's very gory. It's
the
all
costumes are awful.
Awful in an amazing way.
Yeah.
The plot makes no sense because the guy eats that heart for no reason.
We'll we can review that another time if you want to do it.
We can certainly review that another time.
But yeah,
it's a great film. Like I said,
it's a great bad film.
It's a great bad film. Yes, it's not good, but it's amazing in its awfulness. Like I said, I dare you to find it because you won't. But if you can, watch it. It's great. That is my suggestion. Now, before we go to the end, let me hit the plugs up real quick. If you want to send us, if you have questions, comments, concerns, or hate mail, we love hate mail, hit us up at moviehotdog@gmail.com. If you want to tweet us, hit us at Twitter at hotdogmovie. Facebook us at This Movie Was a Hot Dog, or I have a blog. I should probably check that out. I didn't even remember I had a blog. Movie Hot Dog at Blogger?
What?
I guess that's a thing I made. It's on my list of things to say. I'm going to have to look at that real quick afterwards.
Well, all right.
Other than that, do you have anything to say?
I don't know. You have to rate the movie as something out of something.
Oh. Oof. Oh, I give it 3 scorpion eagles out of 5 scorpion eagles.
I'll give it 3.5 cars in a 5-car parking lot. So, 3 cars and a smart car.
Oh, God. All right. Well, that was that. Are you done?
Yeah, I'm set. I'm Matt.
And I'm Zach.
And this movie was a hot dog.
And this movie was a hot dog. We are done.